Hey dudes, it's your friend, the Reverend Pirate Frog. Come join me in the circle with my bearded brother, Howlingbuds, the poet laureate himself, Stoney Alpinist, and of course, the better half of Frapple and my friend, Johnny Apple. Pass to the left and let's have some fucking fun.
5, 4, 3, 2, Rev.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another thrilling episode of The Circle. I cannot promise that, actually. So it's The Circle. And I'd like to kick it off this week by introducing Howling first. Howling, how are you, my dear friend?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Oh, you sound it. Johnny, how are you?
What's up, buddy? How are you?
Oh, always pleasant when I see you. And Stoney, who I've tasked once again with hosting Beyond These Meaningless Words. There you go.
Peachy fucking king.
There we go. I'm turning it over to you, man. Everybody, I'm looking at Johnny. Johnny's barely awake.
Yeah,
Howling is sulking in his emo cave. And of course, you and I have the energy. Mine is all, of course, drug related.
Well, you still have the sunshine coming up. And
always.
Yes,
Dude,
we're all sitting in the dark.
When you're as cool as me, the sun always shines, brother.
Yeah, the sun is always. I'll stay on the sunny side of that road, dude. Yeah, it's one of the main reasons I love to go out to California is that you get a sunshine a little bit longer, at least in the day too. I think that's even the path and the arc of when the sun is setting, being that far over in the time zone makes a huge difference as well. We're pretty close, I think. I don't know where it is in here in Illinois, but I'm feeling it. I hate to say it's fall, but it's coming. Kids are going back to school and school buses are cruising around, and I started seeing leaves on trails now. It's coming
beautiful.
Really quickly. Yeah, here we go. So thanks for joining. Thanks for sitting down with us, guys. I know we're all exhausted from a crazy summer week and switching over, but it's been some cool things going on in the last couple episodes. We've had some awesome guests to join us. Thank you again to Big Green Guy and for Grow to join us in the past couple episodes. We had a lot of fun. So glad everyone can join us but you just get the four of us tonight. So I think it was fun to sit down as a circle. Of course, we always got to hang out for a little bit before, and fellas, I love in sitting down and spending even a little bit more time in the beginning. So I'm really glad to be here. Thanks for everyone for joining us. But few things coming up, I guess just little things timely. Big Green Guy had a drop. So Howler, tell me a little bit more about that. I think you were one that scooped it. I know how excited you were about some sort of wolf or something like that.
Yeah,
puppy, right?
No, he's talking about Odin's wolf.
Yeah.
No, I was and I got to smoke it too. So BGG sent me some Odin's wolf beans and a couple joints, and it is fantastic. It is going to get grown very soon. Fantastic name to it. Super happy, but I did pick up his. I think they're calling it not a dump truck or something. It's the 1-to-1 strain. Because I think that's what's gonna. After I get through these next couple plants, I think I'm gonna do an entire medicinal grow. So I got BGG's 1-to-1. I got miracle plants. I won't even pronounce it. I got that one, and then I have like Aunt Jeannie's elixir. And I think I might have another medicinal strain, and that's all I'm going to do because I've been having maybe a little bit of a love-hate relationship with cannabis lately. For some reason, I'm not tolerating the hazy feeling from it, and I don't like it. So I want the medicine, but not the stoned feeling. So I think some of these medicinal strains may hit the spot. So I'm super excited.
So then let's stay back on that with Big Green Guy. So you got a sample to taste on it and with some of the effects to it. What you seemed really excited about it. Clearly, it's up front. So what is it about these 1-to-1? Because I've never had them directly, so I've always kind of stayed in the autoflowering. But what is it that was really noticeable for you? What jumped?
Oh no, I didn't try the 1-to-1. I tried Odin's wolf. I haven't tried the 1-to-1. That one I'll just grow and try out, but. People are saying it's really good. Some of the people that have grown it, I think Paranoid Grower was one of them.
And you got a lab test. Really good.
Yeah. So it is a true 1-to-1.
Yeah,
it was
the
like
results are in his Discord.
10% THC, 10% CBD. So it's really awesome. I'm super excited.
I really think it'll be good. at least to try a 1-to-1 so we can get that
Mhm.
baseline going.
Yeah, I need something. I think I need something for like the daytime, but that doesn't leave me all hazy and
Useless.
glass-eyed at work.
And what are your thoughts on mixing salads, like into joints and into bowls? And when I say salads, like like blending in some indica dominant strain with something in with a haze.
So I
Any
haven't
thoughts on that?
tried it yet. I've been meaning to try that, and thanks for reminding me because I actually completely had a brain fart and forgot to try that.
I've wondered, it's all anecdotal, but it's always just been kind of thoughts of like, I think I heard it not maybe within the past year or so, and I think it was maybe I think I'd caught it somewhere, and someone talked about it being a salad. And I'm like, it makes a lot of sense. Like,
Yeah.
there's only been one person that I ever remembered, and it was a long time ago. And she had a real like if she switched strains in between, if she smoked one back and forth, it gave her headaches. And I think I'd always like stuck with that, but I've never heard of anyone else. And it just was like, why didn't I ever think of that? Like, because there are, I think we as growers, we get these large amounts, right? Our auto flowers now, or especially in some of these auto pots, are 4 to 6 ounces that we get off of a plant. That's a fair amount, right? And it can take you down to a road.
Yeah, and you know what? I'll try that. I should try that. I think another problem I'm having is that, like for some, narrow leaf will be a little bit energetic for them, and it's not. Like I still get tired, and it sucks. I
A
reached
lot of
out
that
to
too is your tolerance is so low that you often, like for instance, the narrow leaf effects work in moderation a lot.
Yeah.
Once you get to a certain point, you're gonna fall asleep and nap,
Yeah.
right? Like I don't care how racy it is, by joint 5 or 6, you're taking a nap sooner or later. So maybe with that, maybe you just gotta, I know, roll even smaller. I know it's harder there, but there's got to be a salad, I think, is from Stoney is one of the easiest immediate ones you can do, and experiment and try and see what cannabinoids it hits your body and how your body affects. It'd be an interesting thing to try the least. But I've seen that people who have, I guess it's like sensitivities to THC and stuff in their body, a 1-to-1 has always been the medicine that works.
Well, and it's definitely going to come down to like terpenes and stuff, and just finding what works out for my chemistry.
Yeah.
There's this woman on Instagram, and I think she has like a Patreon and a YouTube channel where she's like a PhD in chemistry, and she studies this. And so I reached out, and she suggested strains high in what was it, terpenoline, I think, which is like things like Durban poison. So I think I'm going to try to find a strain that's heavy in that and give that a go.
That would be Juicy if you have it.
I don't have Juicy anymore. That was the one that
we have a ton.
Well, I have seeds. I just don't have any more of the flower left. I didn't get much off that plant, and I ran into a few problems. And then what I did grow, a lot of it got turned into rosin for my wife, and that went pretty quick. So I should try that again. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Well, what was it, like Durban Sunset or something?
Durban Sunrise.
But it's Durban,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, it's got Durban. I'm sure there's plenty of others. There's some charts out there that I think go over the popular strains that are high. I know the information should be available fairly easily with the old Google. So that would be an interesting one to try and come back at.
Well, and remember that a lot of the treatments for like ADHD, they actually give you a form of a stimulant. And it helps you to kind of, but it's a regulation of the right amount of that stimulant, right? Yeah. So like you said, so sometimes it works great for you, but sometimes it's just way too much, and then it takes your mind in places, and the next thing you know, it's racy. And remember that a lot of that, let's remember that our medicine is just kind of keeping the frame around what's going on inside of us. So making sure that we're taking care of ourselves and our bodies and our health and our mind and all those other things sets the stage for our medicine to do the work. It just helps in the entourage effect and all of it, right?
Yeah.
But if you've got all of those things and you're working on those things and you're bringing the medicine part of it into it, yeah, like one extra joint or finishing a joint sometimes can set you back 3 hours in a day. Sometimes then you don't get things done. And then that anxiety builds, and later on in the afternoon, you're like, I didn't get anything done. I've been running around doing all these little things. Well, sometimes you need a little bit of that morning time, day medicine, but we just want to have a little bit more throughout the day. So that's where, maybe it's back to salads in the interim until sounds like you have a really solid plan. And I think I want to take a little bit of a circle back to the one-to-one, because I've always been fascinated about that, curious about that extra amount of the CBD that's involved with it. Because I've always wondered, like, is there, if CBD being an extra entourage, we could add that on in other aspects to our flower. But now I see so many of these breeders pushing in it. So are you planning on dedicating a whole tent is what I'm hearing?
Yeah, I think once these Alabrijes, well, I should take that back. I'm going to start the one BGG's one-to-one the moment the seeds get here. It's going to go in my 3x3 because that one was dedicated to the Hubba Bubba Haze. Yeah, well, there's plenty of room in there. Let's just say that. So I'm going to start the
Maybe we'll get there in a bit.
I don't know what you mean.
So that's getting started right away. But then once the Alabrijes are done, that's going to be like all the other medicinal beans I have. So it'll be fun. It just sucks because we're not even talking about like, oh, it's when you get towards the end of the joint. It's the first puff. Like that's all. Like I can't microdose more than that, and it sucks. So especially with this puppy that I have, I've needed to have my mind turned on all the time and have to be involved. And I haven't smoked. I've barely smoked all week. I haven't smoked today, just because like I've been go. And then if I'm not, I'm trying to recover. Like we also had COVID and stuff, and I'm still having some
minor, just
lingering effects of that. Like I cleaned like a room today, and then I had to go take a nap. Like it's just draining me. So, and then I add like cannabis on top. Yeah, I'm gone for the day. And then now I got kids and a dog that are screaming for attention.
Well, remember two things. It's always, it's the medicine can only do so much, right?
Yeah.
It's not a cure all for anything. It's you got to do things like if you're tired, you're going to be tired regardless. But it's also good that in all of this, you've decided to take a tolerance break. I think that's really going to help.
God, I'm going to smell it and it'd be like, oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm
gonna get a contact high just from smelling the shit.
You'll touch the plant and you'll just down on the floor, passed out. No, I mean it is just the good news is it's not that like boring or terrible to try different ones. I'd say it's a pretty good thing to have that you're like, man, I just got to sample a shit ton of different stuff to find out what I want. Yeah, damn.
I'll suffer through it,
but
for the hobby and for the medicine, I'll suffer through it.
Yeah, barely. Yeah, just what a terrible life you lead sometimes, my friend. How is the puppy though? I want to ask.
Tonight she's a beast, but she's overall really good. She's
how old is she now?
Let's see. Friday it was 13 weeks.
Wow.
So she's still really young. She's big. I mean, she's
huge.
At least double the weight that she was 5 weeks ago when we got her. But like today, she goes like through these little moments where she wants to put her mouth on everything. She wants to challenge you. Part of it's just puppy. Part of it's being a Rottweiler. I'm too old for this shit. But tonight, my wife's watching her while we do this, and I could just hear them in the background. And there's some dog fights going on, and some stern warnings going on. She's usually calm right about now, but tonight she is just pushing all the fucking buttons.
Good.
So
good timing.
I wouldn't doubt that. Like pretty soon she's in bed. But she's great. She is a sweet girl and she's super duper smart. But yeah, she has that little challenging streak to her, and we'll see if we're more stubborn. That's just a Rottweiler thing, is that you have to prove that you're more stubborn than they are.
Well, that's
what they are.
They say dogs take after their owners, right?
Oh, God.
I don't think I've met another stubborn bastard than you.
Yeah. And she gives you the look too. Like, she gives you the side eye. Like, I'm going to tear your world open right now. Hope you're ready for it. Yeah. So, but anyway, she's really good.
So tell us more about your tent. You were mentioning a little bit around Alabria. It's been a while since we've had guests on, and we haven't really had a chance to dig into our garden. So I'd love to dig into that for us tonight. I got a bunch of exciting things. So we'll start with you, man. We kind of keep the train going. So tell us about your garden.
I've actually so I'm not known to talk highly of autos too much. I have a love-hate relationship with them, but I really love my Alabria tent right now. They're all very they're growing very vigorous. They're like, I think 9 or 10 days today, and just look beautiful. They're growing exactly how I would expect a plant to grow, like not stunted, not giving me problems, not showing signs of hating the soil that they're in. So that one's going really well. And then alongside them in the same tent, I popped some BGG blueberry sauce, and then this other photo period that's for some contest my wife entered me in. Thought I was losing my mind. Like, I had to actually replant some seeds because I noticed days later that the seed, I ran into the problem Rev had one time where went to check on it and the seeds are sitting on top of the soil and they like dried out and wouldn't germinate again. And I thought I was like, shit, Rev and I are just fucking stoners. Like, what are we doing wrong? Until I actually replanted them, and I watched what happened. Is after I watered it in, I saw it float. It float, and it closed the hole. Like, you didn't even see the hole or anything. It's just sitting there. And if I didn't watch that happen, like, I would have never known that was possible. And so it happened. I was a lot more careful this time, and they popped, and they're going well. I love growing photos, so this one will be fun. And then,
when that happened to you, did you go, shit, now I understand, Rev? Maybe I shouldn't be so mean.
No, you deserve everything. But I did feel at least better about my own situation, where maybe I didn't really fuck up the first time and not plant them. It was just the way it got watered in and it floated. And then I got my Hazy Summer 2 plants, the one that's in the 1.5 gallons, which, I've neglected the hell out of it, but it's forming like this nice big main cola, and I'll get a little bit off of it. It'll be fun. And then we got the bitch of a plant, the Hubba Bubba, that's like 10 nodes and 2 inches tall. So she's starting to stretch. I kind of, if anyone's watched like on the Discord, I've gone back and forth about what I'm going to do with her. And I finally just one day said, fuck it. She is what she is. And
just let her ride. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just going to let it go. Like, I could set myself back 4 weeks and plant again and maybe have even the same thing happen again. Or I'm just going to let this thing and see what it wants to do. And yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to let it ride. So,
I think that's the best option, because also there's 2 things that could happen, right? It could stretch and turn into an absolute beast. Even if it doesn't, you could smoke it and go, holy shit, I need either a lot more of that, or thank fucking God I don't waste any more time on this shit. Like,
that's a great point.
Yeah, I don't need fucking any more of this shit.
Yeah. That's a great point. It's kind of like a taster. I mean,
because I always have that thought too, and it's like, yeah, what if I plant this or redo it? Like, especially with my Mandela effect, I'll get into later. But the other option too is you could get a lot of flower that you just fucking don't like.
Well, that's like a dilemma I'm having now. Is I really enjoyed for the girls on the grow together. I grew Double Smile in a 3-gallon pot, and I got like 4.5 solid ounces out of that plant.
Yeah.
And it was easy to grow. It was super nice. I did an auto pot tray and it was just enough. Like, getting 4 ounces out of a plant is just enough to really kind of enjoy it, but not have too much. And so that's another reason why I was just going to let this go. It's another narrow leaf, which I have a bunch on hand already. So I'll enjoy whatever's produced, and it'll be fun. I think it's starting to stretch now. It's not going like all like Guy Fieri on me or anything. It's stretching and not setting into flower just yet. And it might like maybe, I'm not even going to say it'll be what it's going to be. It'll be whatever size it's going to be, and I'll enjoy it. But
I mean, even the plants that I put like a gallon, you still get enough. Like, you get a good taster and sample, and that's over in the corner. I mean, so it's always just fun. Like, that's a great point, right? I actually had never put that together. Like, if you got it and you got it, even if it's a tiny little corner. I've got one of those little projects too where it just didn't quite work out, and I hucked it into an auto pot, tucked it over into the corner, let it ride. Just see what happens. I mean, it's not going to get much light. There's a way more prioritized plant, but
Well, it's nice. It's like it's not like raging, so it's sitting in 13 gallons of new soil. I won't have to do a damn thing to it. Like I won't have to top dress, nothing. I'll give it the goodies and the little potions once in a while, but I won't have to really care about it. I don't even know if I'll be able to turn the autopot on for it. I have no idea yet.
Yeah.
It's not even the width of the pot yet, which is not a huge pot to begin with.
Yeah.
So, if it was a hassle or giving me trouble or showing that it hated like nitrogen or something, I would yank it. But this thing it's purely healthy looking. It's not a problem or whatever. And then you're not causing me any hassle and you'll stay. So
very, very German attitude there, Hallie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sounds like you got a lot of fun things going on.
So far, yeah. It's new season's kicking off. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, it's always that transition, seeing those little ones come along, and especially 9-10 days, right? That's a fun little stage. You're still real tender with them.
I can't be too tender with these things. They're actually pretty big for being 9 days old. So I'm totally happy. Like I don't usually say that often about autos, but I'm looking at these and I'm just like, fuck yeah. All right.
I really like the dedicated tent too, because I just so happen to have the seeds too. So it's always just like a snapshot at like, oh, cool. Okay. That's, it's just, I really like it when you can compare other plants to each other too. So 3 and a 2x4 and that like that. It looks so rad.
Yeah. It's kind of cool seeing their little characters come out. Like they're each their own and developing in different ways. And like you could see, like for me, Blue Zoroso is like the slow grower out of the 3. So it's just kind of like interesting to compare it of a plant of the same age right next to it. Not even like looking at like, because we all like flip through our photos and say like, oh, I got this plant that was that day. Let me compare. Like I actually physically see the plants in front of me. So it's perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you start putting like a tension tugging or like wind blowing on your plants at that young of an age? Since you said they're kind of at that spot now where they're like seeing some real leaves, but
yeah, I got the fan going where I like to have when they're that young. I don't like to rock them too much, but just to see like the edges of the leaf kind of move just a little bit. It's like, okay, that's enough air for me. Like that's perfect.
Yeah, that's one of the things I noticed in my tent this round is that didn't have that airflow because I was using that small AC Infinity and had it up high. And I just was like, I don't think they're getting enough work. I'm one of those that believes that they need a little bit of work. They need a little bit of tugging. And I mean, Mother Nature blows wind, right? And they need that sort of movement and I feel like as soon as I popped my big fan in there and got the wind moving around, their turgor started really developing there.
I always rock 2 fans in my 2x4. Like I always go to the extreme to where I almost get windburn and then I pull back. Yeah. Like I think this last round I don't think I got windburn, but like most of my grows I'll get some gnarly leaf burn from the fans because I've got usually 2 fairly decent sized plants in that 2x4 touching on each other and stuff. I want as much airflow as humanly possible.
Yeah, I've got mine set up on timers.
Yeah, like you said, wind in nature, man, is heavy handed too.
I give them a break.
I don't know about this windburn. Like I know like some people get it. I had a plant in the 2x2 this last round, butted up right against a fan, blowing the shit out of it. Not a single bit of windburn or anything. Like you couldn't even tell that fan was there.
That's crazy.
So I don't get why some plants are sensitive to it.
Well, I think it's some of the cultivars, their genetic lineage. Some of them are better outdoor breeders. Some of them are, like if you look at some of the lineage with Gnome Automatics, he loves doing things that are outdoor and really can handle a lot of humidity. because that was the conditions that he was growing an outdoor growing the plants in. So now the advantage is moving into a tent. You now can have a grower that can load up a tent a little bit more and can handle a little bit more humidity because of those genetics. So I think that there's probably genetics that are used to being in wide open fields and open plains. And then if we really go back to the roots and sort of like the genetic string that ties all the way back to our autoflowers, it's the ruderalis, and it grew in the high mountains. And so our flowers are conditioned to hit rocky soil, to grow in as quick conditions with as much light as possible in a short season and handle a lot of stressful conditions and still kick into flower. I think there's still just some genetic tiebacks to that.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think if you've ever been in a windy place and you get wind chap or shit like that, it's sometimes it's somewhat, you're like, well, I didn't think I'd get it this time, but
that's actually a good point, because like this is more of a broadleaf leaning plant that was in there. And one of the things I learned recently from one of the videos of Frenchie that I was watching is the whole like narrow leaf or broadleaf plant structure. Like narrow leaf, real thin leaves, grows pretty tall and lanky, and you got the broadleaf, which is this short and squat thing. It's because of the environment it came from. It had to deal with like the wind gusts and everything. You couldn't be super tall and have those type of wind gusts. So it grew short and squat. And so maybe that's just part of it, is it had more of a broadleaf leaning tendency, and that it could handle the wind.
Yeah. I don't think we've gone generationally far enough away from those plants. It hasn't been that long, really, if we think about it. And there's still some of those tiebacks. We were just talking the other day in the Discord about, I run a core of seedling soil that's pretty light and fluffy down the middle of my autopots. And then I plant into that. And my theory is, based on everything that I've learned, the seeds kick that first root that starts heading down towards water. And I believe that in a lot of our organic soil, there are big chunks of hard material that when that root finds that, it starts to send out its feeder roots, and that's when the flowering process starts. So my theory was always that if you can get a straight shot down to the water in the autopot, because I kind of have the dome down there, but when it's heading down there to grab that water, you're now allowing for a deeper set of those feeder roots to happen. Right. So as soon as it hits that, that's when the feeder roots really start spreading out on that top 3, 4, 5 inches of soil. If we can sort of extend those out and further down into the pot, you've got that advantage. So, having that soft core sealing or whatever just allows for these genetic tie back to this ruderalis plant that I believe, and of course in my silly stoner fucking head, these are plants that were growing in soil that bedrock may have only been 2, 3, 4, 5 feet below where the material that it was growing in, right? The organic material that it was growing in had been broken down over eons of time or whatever. It's going to hit bedrock. So when we look at some of these other plants that are low down into some of the early cultivars that grow 7, 8 feet tall, well, those are growing in beds of soil that can go have a root structure that's 3, 4, 5, 6 feet deep before it hits the water. Our ruderalis, which the core of our autoflowers, grows in the mountains, came from the mountainous regions. And so in my theory, and this is a stoner fucking theory, so it probably is completely implausible, but there's just something about it to me that seems right. That the ruderalis is grown directly into this mountainous region, and it has some sort of genetic tie to it.
It's got to make sense, right? Yeah. Like you are a product of your evolutionary background, and,
right.
And we aren't, like you said, that far from. I mean, we're not too far even from the lowriders, guys. Like,
yeah,
we've come a lot of very far in the breeding, and we've gotten a lot of benefits. We're not that far evolutionarily from where it started. So in the grand scheme of things, it's nothing. But yeah, I mean, I think when you were talking about that layering technique that you use, I think it's really interesting. Very labor intensive, but I think you get a lot of benefits. I see you notice almost immediately. Like the seedlings are always from my observations, bigger and healthier, because they have very little resistance. And I know Johnny's noticed it when he's planted in, cocoa versus any other type of mix. And it is, with cocoa plants, least resistance. And look how beautiful those plants get. Same with DWC, right? But it is an interesting thing. I can't get that far. That'd be too much work for me. But it's definitely something that I think if you're like, people are like Captain, he does the layering technique the other way, where he starts with hots, and a lot of people do, where they start with hot and then they go into like a mix and then the seed soil. But like you said, the first thing that goes down is the taproot. And you send that down. If you don't layer it at an appropriate depth, which who knows, I couldn't tell you what that is. You might just be having a taproot go directly into super hot soil, and then it has to, you might not get it right. Who knows?
Yeah.
But yeah, I just throw it all in one and rock it.
Yeah, and just bear in mind with that layering, when you really look at the layering of the soil and you look at the biology that's happening, and you see all the everything happens in that first like kind of 3 to 6 inches, all said and done. That's where most of your earthworms are moving around. That's where most of the arthropods, the big chompers that are starting to work things down, and a lot of the bacteria, a lot of the fungal stuff stays up in that top few inches of it. Those are the really important parts of it. So, when you have that hot soil down at the bottom, be careful to get it far enough up when you look at the relative size of the pot, that you want to make sure that there is some of that accessibility to it, right? If it's down way too below, I believe that it just, especially when I've seen some of the root structures, it gets there later on. And so I think that is why that layering process works so well, is that by the time a really solid root structure is happening and they've kind of curled and start going down further into the pot, that's when they hit that really hot soil, which especially in autoflowers gives it right around that time where it's going into flower.
Exactly.
But think about those early stages in life in the vegetative growth. The top 3-4 inches of soil is really where the most things are happening. That's where you see all those little tiny feeder roots, and at the edges and the very skin of those roots is where all the exudates are happening. It's where all the information is going back and forth. It's where all the microbiology is happening. That's where your plant's getting what it needs.
That's why top dressing is so effective.
Absolutely
right?
key.
And it's super easy to see it in nature if you've ever been in any grove of trees, forest, or anything, right? You just look at the top and it's all decaying leaves and plant material, and you're like, oh, it's it's thriving here. I wonder why. And that's all, like, and you also have the dropped fruit thing too, right? It's all part of the same system, and it's only the top few inches, and that's why top dressing and feeding all your goodies up top is the most important aspect of it, because that's when you get the action.
We talk about the area right around the soil. We've heard this term rhizosphere, right? That happens right around where the roots are. So there's this, all of the soil that's around it, but you talk about the rhizosphere around the actual plant. That's where all of the action is happening. That's where the plant's getting its nutrients, telling the soil what it needs, telling the microbiology what it actually needs. And you said something about forest and that being the great example, because that's where it was really kind of figured out, right? We hear about the Teaming With series. But if you read that, and he gives all the credit back to, there's a doctor, I think there's a Dr. Elaine Ingham, and she actually was one who started recognizing it and did a lot of advanced studies into forests, and kind of compared and looked at and recognized the advantage of the mycorrhiza, recognized all of the soil web, and really started to identify it. And it was from there where we've really just been propelled and recognized how much of this world is right underneath our feet that we had no concept. And this wasn't that long ago. I don't know what the exact dates on it.
It's incredibly recent in terms of what you would assume scientific discovery is. And it because it's I mean, it's at a time where I don't think any of our childhoods was that information taught in what you would think you would start with teaching kindergartners about, like, this is how plants grow, right? Like, you would think that's fair, but the knowledge wasn't there yet. That's how recent of a discovery it is. And it is truly an amazing thing. So, but yes, the forest, but I mean, if you look at any society that has depended on or lived around forests and depended on them for their food and, you know, living around it, they've always known that they were special places and rich, fertile areas.
Right.
We just now know, oh, okay, it's because of these tiny, you know, like you call them chompers that you can't see, but are the most important aspect of our grow or any grow.
Well, and you know, what she pulled apart and what she recognized is she compared forest soil versus soil that had been tilled, and what she found is that like soil elsewhere was really bacterial dominant, and so there was a lot of fluctuation, and it was hard to balance it, and you would see these fluctuations happening, and of course this is post this era where, you know, tilling was a regular process, and then we realized how really terrible that was for everything.
It was,
yeah, right. But then what she recognized and really like it just cooked the noodles of everyone was that these forests were fungal dominated. And it was that information that really kind of unlocked where we as growers now use this mycorrhiza, right? And all these other products that are out there that have mycorrhiza in it, it is coming from this knowledge of what the fungal network that is kind of doing and working within the soil web. And so it does go back to that, Dr. Elaine Ingham. So go dig her up and go find some readings around.
I believe she has some YouTube videos where she's talked about the basics of the soil web. I know that I've watched a couple of them, but she's
there's podcasts that you can find with her. She's great to talk to, and a lot of her students translated over into cannabis and related a lot of it to it. But she's the one that really started to break down this soil web, and where we started to get this understanding. And I think, you know, a lot of the conversations we hear recently, we talk about organics versus salts. I think some of the thing that it really comes down to, and maybe down the road we kind of pull this apart a little bit more, but we talk about these nutrients being mobile versus immobile. And I think that is one of the true keys that gets left off of the conversation when we talk about it. To really kind of simplify it, when you think about salts, keep it in this classification of they're pretty mobile, right? We're adding things into it. It's moving through the soil. It's mobile. It's active. It's ready there. There are things that are immobile, seeing that it's locked up into spaces, right? So there are things that need to happen in bacteria that as they're chewing things and processing things down through the soil web, down through the triangle, they're holding on to these nutrients and they've got them in storage. So when the plant actually does need them, it sends the exudates out. It talks to these exudates and says, hey, I need these nutrients, and it has them ready to go. And so when we talk about salts being mobile versus immobile, when we're dunking these things through, we're telling the plant, hey, you need this today, and you need this right now. And the plant may be saying, hey, I don't need that right now, but I actually need this. And when you look at organic soil holds all of these things in it with all these different levels. It's constantly processing. And this goes back to that top dressing that we were talking before. My top dressing had a bunch of castings in it and had a bunch of great things that were alive. And then I also dosed a bunch of the biofos of rootwise in there that's got a bunch of mycorrhiza in it. And I made sure that I wet it down with my potion so that it was nice and moist and activated so that it could start doing its job and pulling those nutrients out. So we'll take it apart further more down the road, but I think it's just really interesting to get people to start thinking about how salts can be a real mobile way to get the nutrients to your plant. If you need them, like think of all the great lines where you can add. It's almost like doing organic. I'm trying to think of the brand. We were talking about it before, Howler. That it's all based around the mythology. Lost with that one too, Stone guys. Sorry about that. But you have to kind of understand what the plant needs.
Nectar of the Gods.
Yes, Nectar of the Gods. Right. So working with Nectar of the Gods, you really have to know your potions. You're giving what that plant needs. Well, yes, it has everything that you need to kind of mix within the potions with it. But that's the difference between, I think, organic soil and soil that needs salt and nutrients added into it. Right? You can't really say just cocoa anymore because there's a lot of synganics, but it does come down to, you know, soil is alive. Organic soil is alive. There's things going on all throughout the different levels of the soil web. When you think about cocoa, it's sterile. There's no life in it. And so that's why I love to hear all of our compatriots that are adding synganics and they're adding things into their sterilized soil to kind of bring life back into the picture, where organic soil has all of that there. It's just all hanging out.
Yeah.
You know, now that you mention it, and we're talking about how it's living, and well, first, the soil food web or whatever. I don't know why we just don't call it soil feng shui, but that's just what's in my head. But you know what? These alebrijes I'm really loving right now actually is the first time I've reused soil growing cannabis. And so I'm just wondering if there was something in that soil already growing that got built up from the last grow that just somehow, and like it probably went a little dormant in between grows, but then I just kicked it right back into life again. And maybe there's just something there, because I'm definitely noticing a difference with how these are growing. And it just might be that life there that I was able to continue on. It didn't come straight from a bag or from ship somewhere. It was still a living thing sitting in a pot here. And even though it didn't have a plant in there, there was still living stuff in there that was doing its thing. And that may have played a big role in this.
I think it absolutely did. And the question I would ask is, did you just kind of pop the seed into? I mean, you didn't till, quote unquote. Like, did you stir the soil up or anything?
Oh yeah, I so I know like any kind of mycorrhizae network that was built up, I destroyed by
well, that's
tossing it around. But I did because they were these came out of the 13-gallon auto pots, and I've never ran them before, and I didn't know what the soil that was making contact with the water constantly, what that was like. So I wanted to dump it out and smell it and see and it was fine. But yeah, so it was mixed in and mixed around and torn up a bit. But so some life is still there. Maybe some of the fungi got destroyed or broken up, but
yeah, I mean, when you think about no-till, there was, I can't remember who I was listening to in a podcast, but it really kind of cooked my noodle. They were talking about this concept and this idea that if you've got your soil and you've got roots that they grow, and as the roots grow and they die, within the soil, they leave this tiny little channel. And as those roots begin to break down, they literally line this channel within the soil with the broken down materials, like these carbonized materials, like all these things that life is broken down of the actual plant before it, right? But now this next plant has this super lined highway with like just a wall of all of the food that it needs and a pre-carved out tunnel. And so it doesn't have to do that work. And so it uses those former tunnels and feeds off of them. And there's all these leftover, like, and to that point, like yes, you destroyed all your mycorrhiza. Fair. But there was probably some dormant stuff in there as well. And when you redosed it back into it with other mycorrhiza, then you created another network. So let's just remember that fungal network does a lot of the communication back and forth between the plant. So it basically just gives all of these little points of chances of talking for the root itself to begin to talk to the soil to tell what it needs. Biology is only going to move a few millimeters at the most in its life. Now, relatively, that's huge. It's a huge span of time and space for the existence of these bacteria. Because remember, when we talk the term microbe, right, a really broad generic term, the term microbe itself, there's several things that are within it, but most important for us is going to be bacteria, it's going to be fungal, and mycorrhiza, right? So all of those are the two main, or the few main things that are really important for us as cannabis growers. There's other things within microbes, but that's when we hear that term microbe, that's what we're talking about. So when you add in the mycorrhiza back into it, you're rebuilding that network up. And the stuff that we're using these days is so like the photosynthesis plus, if you're using that, there's a lot more mycorrhiza in products than you're going to have a good network. Where if we were doing this back to when we were talking about Elaine Ingham, if we were doing this 20 years ago, we'd have no concept or idea of what mycorrhiza is. So you will be fine in that. But to your point, Howler, you probably did have really good, still fertile soil left, good energy left in that battery, man.
Also think of how many times you top dressed with whatever you did, all of the stuff the plant didn't use. That doesn't just disappear. It's still in the soil. So, and like Johnny was the one that convinced me to do that with the earth boxes. And I think the reason that they're doing well in spite of me is because of following Johnny's, just it gets better. Like I've seen with Johnny's own plants, he gets better plants different rounds. You know, it's not always like the best plant comes the first round and it suffers. It's like, no, good grow, holy shit, the second, third round are fucking phenomenal. You know, it's a whole you're building a whole environment, and the least amount of disruption that you can cause to it, the better. You just got to make sure that you're constantly, you know, you get to a point too where you've just put too much castings in, that, you know, you're not putting in extra pumice or rice holes when you're on top of, you know, doing it. You can't do it indefinitely in an earth box, say, but there are ways to do it. You know, big beds like Johnny, that soil's gold. It only gets better.
Yeah. I mean,
I barely have to touch it. I just read the plants and I go, oh yeah, you know what? Seems like it's been a little while. Let me throw some compost and shit in it, and the plants just get happier and they're healthier. They're more resilient. I do got thrips right now, but it's just the plants are still raging, so it's just something I have to deal with. Like I've got time to figure out a way to get through it, and man, I don't know. It's just like easy, as shit.
Well, and that's the thing. I think out of the four of us, you have the largest volume of beds, and so if you're new to listening to us, Johnny, I mean, you've got full beds in these tents, and to your point, I remember it was earlier in the summer that you had some tests done on one of them. You had some issues with it, and you were like, yeah, man, I just kind of watered it through and gave it a little bit of this, gave it a little bit of that, and seems to be doing all right. And you know, so
I put the hella jellies in it. After knowing how rich it was, I put the hella jellies in it and did water only, because I knew it was just super rich. And we put the SLF because it was high in salts or whatever.
Yeah,
the SLF 1000 or 100, whatever the hell it is. And now my hazes are in there, and they're just, even with the thrips, they're doing phenomenal. Just
so I mean, that's organic growing to the next level. So when we talk about our pots, you know, ours that are in 3 gallons, 1 gallon, all the way up to the Autopot XLs, they still are relatively pretty small compared to what you've got, brother. So
wait, did you say like 80 gallons now, and I think in each one of those.
Wow.
Did you say SLF has sulfur in it?
No, I don't know if it does. I don't think so.
No,
it breaks. Okay. No, it breaks down salts.
I had high salts in that.
Oh, gotcha.
It's really good. It's really good. It has we have that unofficial guide if you need it to. It does quite a few things. But you can clean lines with it too.
Yeah. I run it as a part of my potion and on a daily basis.
It's great stuff. It in combination with some other stuff, I've completely closed any fungus gnat issue I've ever had.
Yeah.
That and the BTI.
I used it with my Autopots and not a single damn gnat the whole time.
There you go.
Yeah. Johnny, how's those? Tell me more about those beds. We've been talking through a couple tents, and want to hear more about those. It's been a while. What's new in them?
So the one right here next to me has got the peppers in it. Those peppers are raging. It's like they've got to a maturity level now that everything on top is a flower bud on all 3 of the pepper plants in there. It's incredible looking. The one is really short and bushy. I forget what it.
You had a chance to try the pepper yet?
I have not tried the Sugar Rush Peach yet. I'm leaving them on the plant to develop their stripes, because I'll harvest them when they're peak ripeness.
Okay.
And I've got one that's just starting to show its stripes now, and there's a few more behind it that I'm going to harvest. But I did harvest a bunch of the Fresno jalapenos. For some reason, they're short and stubby. They're not like getting long. They're really short and stubby. I think the longest one was maybe 2-3 inches. But they're bright cherry red. So the pickles I made, I put those in it, and then those long purple ones that are out in the garden, they turn orange when they're ripening. So I pulled all the orange ones off and made the second jar with all the orange ones. Yeah, that's really cool looking. And then my hella jelly mom is in that same bed with the peppers. I just had to bend it back over because she was blocking the light from my tangy that I popped in there on a whim. So she's not looking so hot now. Was blocked of light and was underwatered a little bit. The same thing with the Star Fox in the back. They look like they got a little underwatered, but It's because it's just so hard to judge when they need water because they're in such a giant bed with everything else. It's really tough to judge. So that's kind of a fun little experiment. It's like, yeah, let's throw some autoflowers in this empty space. But that Hella Jelly mom, I bent her back over now because I had her. Well, she was the flowering mom that I planted, and when she finally re-vegged, she's just going crazy now. I had to bend her one way, and now I'm gonna like full on bonsai mom her here pretty soon. Take some cuts off it and just kind of do something cool with the main stem or something. But
hell yeah!
And then like I said, the hazes and then the apple sauce and the white sauce are in the other bed, and they're looking phenomenal. Like that got top dressed, and I've been cranking up the humidity and the lights, and they're really looking good, even though they were tiny little things that were nubs. You couldn't tell the difference between that and the clover growing in there in the one picture, but they're huge now. They're looking great. So I'm thinking pretty soon in the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be able to start sexing them. I got 2 of the hazes are just giant. So I'm assuming they're probably going to be male because they're stretchers. So I think 2 of the 3 hazes are male, but the sauces are looking incredible.
The leaf on that one is fucking incredible.
Yeah, and then the regular sauce plant that's in, I had to separate those 2 we've mentioned before. The banana milk and the regular sauce, they're beautiful looking, and they're just getting ready to be about turning that corner in probably the next 3 weeks, and they're going to be harvested because they're just fat donkers, and they're starting to brown up a little bit. It's like, oof. Yeah. But yeah, other than that, just the outdoor garden, man, and busy as fuck around everything else. I've been making it a point not to let the fucking garden go to waste. So like I said, I was pickling the cucumbers here and making it a point to harvest and at least freeze and the little harvesting that I'm getting, like freeze the tomatoes to make sauce later on. And we made relish with some of the more cucumbers. We made sure to freeze some broccoli. So yeah, it's been really a main focus to not let that go to waste and make that be important too, because there's a lot of money invested in just gardening too, time, effort. So, but
harder to do it next year if you didn't get anything the year before too. If you're just like, why am I doing this again?
Why,
and let it all
am
rot.
I wasting my time? Yeah, what? I mean, it worked out because a lot of the stuff was replanted, like my cucumbers, because I let some of them rot in the garden. They replanted themselves, and that's the only reason I had cucumbers this year. So,
and now
it's fun.
Tell us your pickle recipe. What'd you do?
So I ferment. So I do 3.5% salt brine, and I just the one I did with the jalapenos is a slower ferment, and the only thing I did different was the jalapenos or the pickles are whole pickles. And the other jar, I cut both ends off and sliced them in half. And that jar is fermenting way faster. I think there's more sugars getting released from opening the pickles up than there is
surface contact.
Yeah. So that jar is fermenting a lot quicker, which is funny. But no, it's just a 3.5% salt brine. I cut the ends off the peppers, throw them in there. I smash some garlic up. I don't know, a couple flowers each, not like a flower per jar, I think. So probably, I don't know, 12 cloves, but you smash them up, shove it full of dill and some dill seed and some mustard seed, and then just pour the salt brine on top and burp it every day, a couple times a day, and it just ferments itself. You could see the carbon process happening, so you know it's fermenting. And then when it looks or smells about right, I put it in the refrigerator, and it lasts about 6 months. It could last up to a year, but they're so damn good, they never last that long.
Yeah. Yeah, so many people get real scared about doing pickles, and there are proper ways to do them, to put them away for years if you really need to. But refrigerator pickles is a whole nother story, and it's like it's kind of gateway fermenting for a lot of people, because you can really just like Like there's even there's an old Midwestern thing where you keep tomatoes and onions. It's like you keep a mother batch going throughout the whole season. Like as soon as tomatoes start to get harvested, right? You make this salad and you put it in your refrigerator, and it's like red onions and whatever herbs you can find that are from your garden and chunks of tomatoes. And then, there's that juice that comes off the bottom of it. Well, then you eat all those tomatoes, right? And then there's the incredible juice that's left over. Well, you just pour that on the next round of tomatoes that you chop up. And so it just becomes this kind of dressing that builds throughout the season in the summertime. That's entry level fermentation too. And so when you do pickles like that, like you said, Johnny, you do have a lot more time, and Mother Nature will tell you it's usually smells, right? You'll have a repulsion. Like it'll have a weird slime on it that you're like, that just feels kind of gross and nasty. I just don't need them. Or you'll see black colors, and then you've really got some nasty that's going on there. But really, if you're using pretty good vinegar that you're getting at the store, it's got a high enough acidity that there's not a lot of things that survive in all of that sort of conditioning, and that's where it came from. And chilies alone are whenever you throw peppers into things, they have a lot of antioxidants and a lot of other things that keep pests and that sort of stuff away from it too. So that was the original. I think that was the original. It's really the way that if you go back to charcoal grilling and charqui and ways of preservation of meat, they would just take chili and slather it on meat because it would keep pests and keep everything away from it. And there was early fermentation around that too. So we eat fermented stuff constantly. Your pickles are a great example of it. I mean, you can take anything from your garden and pop it into like sometimes you can even make like a sweet pickle base, which is like I always throw a little sugar into mine, and then you can make 2 gallons of this stuff and then custom make 4 or 5 different kinds of pickles from your cucumbers. So where you said mustard seeds and dill seeds into it, like you could take curry and throw it into one of them and make it like a curried pickle if you wanted to. You could do watermelon rinds and something else.
I considered taking some chipotles that I had smoked.
Yeah,
I had
exactly.
smoked some. I was like, man, I'm not quite sure how that smoke flavor will translate through, but it's like, man, there might be a couple cucumbers still hanging on the vine here. If I can get another gallon out of them, I might try that.
And you got some home smoked chipotle right now? That's dope as shit, dude. That's amazing.
That's the sort of stuff that play with it, and that's what I always encourage, because it gets scary, and plus it's a huge task to sit there and think about when you look at a field of cucumbers and you realize I've got to go buy 9 cases of ball jars. That's just way too much. I don't know what I'm doing. It's too much the commitment. I'm just nervous.
I can't there's the taste of a fermented salted dill garlic pickle compared to a vinegar pickle is so much better. It is so much better, man. Without that vinegary, oh man, it's next level.
And salt does the same thing.
So delicious.
That's where the preservation comes from. It pulls the moisture out of it. So to your point, when you want it to go faster, that's you open up the skin because it just gives access to it. So it's osmosis. It's trying to pull the water out and even it all out. It's happening. Another really cool one. I know there's a lot of citrus growers, but if you get your hands on Meyer lemons and you take them and you kind of cut a couple of V's into them so that you split them in half, but you basically want to create as much surface area as possible and pack it with salt. Absolutely incredible. They're called preserved Meyer lemons. And you can throw them into anything. You have to kind of rinse them a little bit to get the salt, but they have the most incredible texture and the most incredibly pungent lemon. It's just absolutely divine. But preserved lemons are another way to do it. And you can do it with limes and lemons. But when you have acid and when you have salt, these all remove moisture out and preserve. That's what they're doing. So salted pickles, they can go, a few more months. Vinegar pickles, they can go bread and butter style. Play with fermentation and play with flavor too, because the way to think about it is the drier the ingredient that's going into it, you really don't have to worry about it. So like Johnny, when you said mustard seeds and dill seeds, just switch it up. Switch it to different seeds and play it. Like you can throw any of your favorite spice blend in it just to see what it tastes like. You can throw a little bit of sugar into it and make it a little bit sweeter too. So it's
what it'll all taste like? Fucking
delicious.
Pickle. Pickle tastes like pickle. You put pickle on bread, that's pickle bread. You
Yeah.
put pickle on anything, that changes the flavor to pickle. But if you like pickles,
burger
I guess
sauce.
you could.
I mean, burger sauce, the key to burger sauce is to use a little bit of pickle juice in it. That's how you thin it down. That's what gives it just a little extra. Like, even if you put a little bit of, like, quote unquote, the relish stuff into it, if you don't like that aspect into it, then just do a really fine chopped red onion, and then just put a little bit of pickle, like, liquid into it, and it brings out, it's the acidity that really brings, like, we talked about it in culinary school as being the foil. So the vinegar helps you to taste everything else because it balances, it brings balance to everything. So you need that level of acidity in everything. So a little bit of pickle juice, that goes a long way.
Yeah, that's one way to put it.
So delicious.
Ruin it.
Delicious, man.
A little bit ruins a lot of it. I get that.
More peppers to be pickled then there, Johnny.
I know.
Throwing in your tent. Glad to hear, dude. It's really cool to hear you that you blend your tent with cannabis and peppers. There's, of all of us, you grow the largest amount of soil that's in there. I mean, in one of those beds, you have more soil than in my entire grow.
Yep.
So, and
in my entire garage.
Yeah. And to use that to grow peppers too is pretty cool, dude. So glad to hear everything. Dude, sounds like you've got a ton of great things going on in your garden. Of course, you always downplay yourself, and then you start saying what you've really got going on there. I'm like, Jesus Christ.
It's a lot. It's a lot. And then just trying, like, the lettuce got out of hand this year, so it's just got to it's damn near gone to seed. I got one broccoli. I left 2 go to seed, but I've never harvested broccoli seed before, so I'm just kind of winging it and see what happens. They're starting to flower now and still getting other flower broccoliettes or whatever where you harvest them. So it's good, man. But I can't wait. Like, I know tomato sauce is coming soon. My tomatoes are so behind this year. It's so weird. But tomato sauce has got to come. I got a ton of cherries, and man, my San Marzanos, they sucked. But I got Jersey Devils right next to them that are just beautiful. I can't wait to get those. And they're big honking, like they're this big around and green. I say this big, but we're a podcast on
the audio format. Yeah.
They're probably 2 inches around, and then they're fucking, I don't know, 6 inches long and a whole bunch of them. So I can't wait for those to ripen up and make some really good sauce.
Jesus, man. Well, not to follow Johnny's apple orchard, entire fucking farmstead that he's got over there. But I'd love to hear what's going on.
You go to the guy living in a one-room apartment. How's your garden? Well,
tell me what goes on underneath the sun.
You know what? I'll start with my outdoor garden so that Johnny feels terrible, because I had a travesty because of Hurricane Hillary. I lost a single sunflower. It was devastating, and I don't know how we'll rebuild. No, it wasn't the squirrels this time. It was wind. It broke it right in half. I was devastated. Like the 4 others I had survived though. So it also blew down a volleyball net. So,
and did we contact the federal government on this?
I did. I'm trying to get some money, but they keep rerouting my calls to someone else.
They're busy. He's busy taking a nap. So,
apparently, yeah, they don't take my calls for, hey, you got to replace this sunflower, you assholes. But
in my volleyball net, goddamn it.
In my volleyball net, yeah. No, it was. I lost my sunflower, but other than that, that's all I've managed to get going in my outdoors is sunflower, and not as exciting as Johnny's, but indoors I'm doing okay. I've got Juicy Queen in my Alabrije tent that is just she's gorgeous, and I've had to put some of those plant yo-yos up to hold her up because she's getting pretty chonky. She smells wonderful. I'm terrible at describing, so it smells somewhat tropical-y, somewhat menthol-y, that kind of, I don't know, it's interesting. I'll just say tropical-y. That money I paid to go to school for English is really paying off on that one. And then in my 2x4, I've got the Hubba Haze and then the Mandela Effect. And that tent just smells like, because there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like 7 solo cups in that tent too. And so it's just a menagerie of smells. But I had to go in there recently, and I put up those plant yo-yos on the Hubba Bubba Haze too, and I had to remove some leaves and stuff and get that wind blowing through everything. But the fucking her and Juicy are going toe to toe in the drinking contest, because they're drinking fucking a gallon a day, and it's getting to the point where it's even more now. It's like a gallon and a half a day. And I'm just getting tired of filling them with fucking water, because for the Hubba Bubba Haze, the guy who put the earth box in the back, he put it to where the spout is, the tube. It's in the back corner.
What a jerk.
That guy's an asshole. He's all, you know what? He also made me work nights all last week, that piece of shit. But no, anywho, so I have to have like a PVC tube that I stuff back there. And then I've got a funnel with this tube that came with one of my humidifiers that is a clinking tube. So it is janky as shit. And I'm doing it every other day. Every motherfucking other day, I'm stuffing 2 gallons of water down my Rube Goldberg fucking machine. And I'm going, I hate that motherfucker. But it's cool. She's tall and beautiful and fully supported too. She's getting chunky, and I'm getting, I've got my decisions for the next round picked out somewhat. I've got my going Alabrie 10. I'm going Dazed, obviously. And then I'm doing one of BGG's coming up that he's dropping. I haven't decided yet. I mean, I can't say yet, rather. Fucking dude. He sent me a very threatening message saying, because I guess I almost said it. And he said if I actually did say it, that both Megan and Captain would go missing. It was terrible.
You just have to challenge him to fly out there. If he flies out,
luckily the last time he flew out, he missed me by 500 miles. So I'm okay. His geography is terrible. And then I have kind of an opening on what I'm trying to decide. But I was talking to the Grateful Gardener, fellow shitlist member. I don't know why I said fellow. I'm not on the shit list. I make the shit list, motherfucker. Shit list member. And he really enjoyed his smoke of the Mandela effect. And I stunted mine. So I'm kind of thinking I might give her another go. But there's so many options up. So that's kind of my last one. So if anyone has any suggestions, feel free to let me know. I'll take all.
I think the community needs to vote what broadleaf you are going to grow.
Well, they can vote. I don't honor their vote. This isn't a fucking democracy. I'm a dictator, bro. Yeah, this is the one thing I can control in my house is what I grow. But yeah, I mean, I'm getting there on day 68 today. No, that can't be right. Like,
damn, that went quick.
No, it's not 68. That's it. I think I'm 63. I planted the seed 68 days ago, so I'm on day 63, and then the Hubba Bubba Haze is 5 days behind. But yeah, I'm getting. What's weird too is Juicy Queen looks like it might be around 84 days.
It'll take the full.
No, I mean that's shorter than anything that's been in that tent before. Every other thing that I've had in that tent has gone over 100 days. Yeah. Wow. So. Good stuff.
Fuck, what was that never-ending plant? I'm drawing a blank.
Marley's
that one that could have,
Marley's Grin went 120 something days,
wasn't it?
Yeah, and it could have gone longer, but I was so done. What's bad is the mango I had last round could have gone longer too, but I just fucking chopped that useless bitch. She was terrible. The worst plant I've grown. Mostly, of course, my fault, but yeah, it was. She could have gone forever too. So. But yeah, that's all my fun stuff, man. Like I'm pretty stoked that my plants are doing really well. I can't speak highly enough about sip containers because I've been busier than shit, and my plants have literally survived in spite of me, man. Like in this run, I have gone on vacation or gone for the weekend without any planning, just gone, and it's been perfectly fine. Because of sip containers, I've been able to work not 12 hours at night, not have any issues because I only got to look at it and go, quick, throw 2 gallons down the res. And this is during the time where every other day they're drinking 2 gallons, which would have been impossible if I hand watered.
Yeah, I mean, I just pushed over the threshold this week where it was like I filled up. I think I put 4 gallons into the res, which is about, that lasted me quite a while, and I'd hit that vegetation explosion spot, and I'm like, okay, here we go, it's coming soon. And I went in there after like 24 hours, and the 4 gallons was gone, and I was like, oh, here we go.
Yeah,
here we go. Thank goodness. And the same thing is I purposefully did my very first round, a while back now, and I did it by hand, and I remembered how long that process took me to water properly. And it goes back to, to circle back to the when we first got started, adding that seed and then, adding water. And if you're not careful, that thing will float right up to the surface of it. Even in the very early stages of it, just very gently watering. Sometimes to do 4 plants, it would take me almost 40 minutes, 50 minutes to do carefully. You pour half of it in, and you really need to step back and let it like absorb and come back 3 to 5 minutes later and pour the other half of the amount that you had to put into it. To do that now, like, I realize how much I probably starved my plants from water early on, because knowing now, looking back at my records at how much I was putting in on a daily basis, because I was doing it was like 15% every day by volume of the plant of water. And now looking at relative, I think at the most I got up to like in 3 gallons, I was putting in 2 liters towards the end of it. It's like, I look at how much water I'm going through now. It's like, I'm sure I would have gotten twice the volume of growth.
Oh yeah.
If I would have had this system.
It is the number one thing that you can change in any sip container, right? City pickers, earth boxes, auto pots. And I'll even say, I know it's not a sip container, but big beds too, especially if you can keep moisture in contain. It's just if you have the right moisture and it's getting the water that it wants, it can drink a lot. You would be surprised. And that's why, like, if you can think I'm watering perfectly, the water, the pot's always heavy, I'm doing everything right, your plant probably wants double the amount of water. You just don't know it.
Yep.
Because you've done everything right, but the plant's just like, hey man, like, we could use a fuck ton more.
And also in these auto pots, I know you had some looking at some of the XLs, having some issues with not staying moist all the way to the top of the surface. I have no problems anymore top dressing into an auto pot. I've never, I don't even know why I was even concerned about it or even thought twice about it in the very beginning, because I oftentimes will go in there and just kind of water. So I just lean into the idea that it's going to struggle getting up to the very top. I think I add a little bit more aeration into my soil for the autos as well. So to accommodate that, I'm probably not going to get as much moisture, but I have no problems just drenching in once a plant's going, like once or twice a week. Gives me a chance to really give some extra potion into those top 3, 4, 6 inches, back to what we were saying before, right? Like, everything's happening in the top 6 inches. Yeah. And so, Howler, when you're looking at that XL pot, even though it's sub-irrigated, you've got the 3, 4 inches at the top. Just watering that over the top, like thinking about how much water I did not give, or nutrients, or opportunity for organic soil to grow. Man, I'm so glad I switched over to the system, not only for convenience, but also for output. And it just it aligns right with my organic growing style, in that I want to make sure the plant has everything it needs in that soil. That way it can take what it needs.
Yeah. Organics just works better and more efficiently too if you're keeping everything moist, right? Your bacteria lives better, right? And so if you want to grow healthy, bigger plants, make sure that all of its needs are met with organics, and doing that with a reservoir is just easier because it takes the guessing out. You let the plants decide, and that's just easier because you will never force feed your plants the right amount, because you will always be like, shit, I'm doing it too much.
I mean, even if we've seen even a house plant, if you go and add water to it and it's hydrophobic, right? Meaning that when you add the water, it looks like it's not going to absorb right. And that's why we have to add it. And if you really look at it, what's happening there is the bacteria that's in and around, and the entire colonies of bacteria that's happening creates this sort of shell to protect itself. And so that's what's happening in the soil. That layer, that hydrophobic layer, is just really the bacterial slime. Then we say that term slime, that's just like the living zone of it. That's the bacteria creating a little carcass or creating a little shell to protect itself. So you have to rehydrate that, right? That's that bacterial life happening right on the very tip-top surface of your soil. And that is just at the surface too.
Exactly. Now, a little change of pace. I said space. A change of pace, because 2 out of the 4 hosts are too stoned and seem to have fallen asleep on us. Let's go. Before we get into our shit lister, I'm going to
starving. I cannot fall asleep right now. I'm so fucking hungry.
Well, good. Okay. I was gonna mix up the order, but I wanted to get into our shit lister before I asked you guys your personal question. But I'm excited about this one, man. Our shit lister is HypnoGrow. And no, this isn't because she wrote Lord Frog and lasers on a garage. That would be so childish.
Slightly biased. She
also put so no, she grows in containers, which is just like literally storage containers, right? The ones with the yellow lids, but the black ones I can only assume. But she fucking grows these beautiful plants, and just I'm incredibly jealous of the forest that she has managed to capture just so well. She makes me jealous all the time, and quite frankly, it's one of the jealousies where I'm not angry at him. I'm just like, God damn it, so perfect. But I know she's a huge fan of Sour Stomper, and she's got a couple other great plants right now. She was talking to Autopilot today about one of the rock buds, but she's just a great member of her community, and she puts us all to shame. So this is her official warning to stop doing so well, or we're gonna have to ban you, because this is the average grow, man.
And an affinity for Crocs as well.
Well, I didn't want to bring up negatives about the person when we're talking highly about him.
Crocs are like the best thing ever.
You get the you shut the fuck.
They're so versatile.
Versatile. Jesus.
Yeah.
What?
So are Swiss Army knives. I mean, it's cool.
Yeah, there's
you can lounge in them, put them in sport mode. You can.
Yeah, that's the thing these days.
I don't get it. Why not just wear a pair of sandals?
Effectively, effectively are.
Why put more plastic like weirdness over your feet? I don't get it.
It's a thing, man. It's a thing.
I'm not going to make an enemy out of Croc wearers. For some reason, there's quite a few of them in this hobby, and I don't want to die on this hill.
Well, she represents the Central Coast, so she's always
not at sea. I'm trying my hardest.
There you go. All good people come from the Midwest. We're all from.
If you think I'm going to apologize to Missouri, I'm not. In fact, I'm doubling down. You know what? I know HypnoGrow's from Michigan, so I'm not going to hold that against her. But there is no Central Coast, baby. I'm going down Missouri, Michigan, next M state that I'm hating. Minnesota, you're coming up.
We got a coast. We got Michigan Ocean right there.
No, yeah,
it's big enough.
We've got multiple states that have a coast. Come on.
Yeah.
The definition of a coast is so simple.
We're gonna make them have a breakdown. This is great.
No, it'd be like walking around. Never mind. We won't go into it before I don't need any more hate mail for my. I swear there'll be an alliance of states.
The alliance of geographical haters. Yeah.
I can't stress this enough. Consider the source when it's my stupid opinion. Anywho, HypnoGrow is on the shit list, and she's a wonderful person. I interrupted you, Stoney, other than the Central Coast bullshit.
No, I just she's an awesome part of the community. I always jumping in there. Incredible flowers too. So love to see the going back to the Night Owl and Mephisto, and just the love that she's got for him. So I mean, she seems like she's gone through quite a bit, knows these genetics, but also spans out and does things. I saw her talking about Rockbud, and I've got a little bit of that in an offshoot fashion in mind, and it's something I'm always kind of interested in. But we always hear about these top breeders, but sounds like she's been around for quite a while, enough to know a lot of different breeders in this. So always interesting to see new names come in, and she's been around since the spring. So glad to see her a part of the community, and I know she listens to us quite a bit during the day, and so just glad to hear that she's on the shit list.
Yeah, and I like that she's part of like this small group of growers that are jumping from each community's grow together. Like she was on the Girls on the Grow together. She's in the Hazy Summer. She's, I think, talking maybe getting into Outcast grow together with Crafting Cannabis. So it's like just kind of cool to watch this, like see them participate in these communities and grow their whatever they decide their grow together is, and kind of follow along. And yeah, it's been awesome.
Nothing like having some badass lady growers in our community too.
Oh yeah.
Right. Just love seeing badass growers, and glad to see that always out there and chit chatting. So glad to have her on the list.
Hey,
yeah, man. She's been around since like April too. She's been hanging out, and I think she's like damn near every day you see something from her, at least once a week, if not since then. Yeah, that's the kind of community we love.
It's always awesome. Now, I am tasked with asking you, Chuckle Fox, a question every time we get together to better know you. So I've gone food and drink last time, so I'm going to stay away from that because it gives Stoney too much comfort to be outclassing us like that. So
challenge me. Let's go.
I'm going to go.
He's already long-winded today.
I'm going to go. I'm going to give you two options, but you don't get more than that. Money isn't an issue, but you get any vehicle that you want. It doesn't have to be your dream car, but if that's too hard for you to say, but you get to get any vehicle that you would like. You get two choices.
Am I the first one on the? I
haven't decided yet. I was looking around to see. Yeah, I'm not going to ask Stoney. I'll go with Howling.
Fuck. Let's just go. Like, I want a tank. There we go. That's what I'm gonna get. I'm just gonna barrel through some shit with a tank.
Look up. In 5 years they're gonna use this as evidence against you. Johnny, can you help me out with any of this?
I need a new pickup.
Okay,
I'll take a new pickup.
Okay, so money's not an issue, and you're going not a new pickup truck. Which I mean,
I'm going like fucking a 3,500 Denali.
There you go. Okay, Stoney.
All right. Okay, so and I don't know the exact models of what they are, right? But we're going to start off with an Overlander, right? Something huge, right? We're ex-military kind of vehicle, massive tires, one that is basically the size of like a full-scale decked out camper on the inside. All the amenities basically would be a land yacht that you could just cruise over large areas of land and have everything that you absolutely need. A little garage to pop down, bikes, all sorts of fun things that you can hop onto, all the sorts of climbing gear, anything that you would need, an entire just mobile outdoor overlanding adventure that has one of the like kick out like patios that drops down, and you can literally just drive this thing around like a giant land yacht. So no money around. I can't think of the exact name of it, but an enormous Overlander to just cruise around the mountains with, man.
There you go. Okay, that's a good one. I like.
What about you?
What about you, Pat? Don't say VW bus?
No, I despise buses. They're easy to work on, but my buddy had one in high school that I constantly had to fucking work on, and it was a pain in the ass. It's similar. Well, actually, no. My dream, right, I would say it'd be like a 52 Chevy truck, Chevy S10. Yeah. Those things are just beautiful. But for a long time, it was a Vanagon, Volkswagen Vanagon, the Westfalia.
Yeah.
But I had an opportunity to buy one in high school for like $5,000, and I turned it down, right? Because they had an auto stick, and those things were fucking super annoying. And I was just like, it's a mechanical toilet, but it's a camper. It'd be my surf dream, right? Now those things go for like fucking $30,000.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I should have bought it. But yeah, that would be my either the Westfalia with cool little camper van, if not every douche in the world owned one now, or a Chevy S10, the 52 S10 or something like that, just like in green, lowered. There you go, baby.
Well, now we can go camping, dude.
We have the Nationals at the state fairgrounds around here. A bunch of those fucking trucks come
They're
in. It's like,
gorgeous.
oh, God damn, I want with the wood fucking.
Oh
bed.
yeah, the wood bed and the wood risers on the side.
Yep.
These things are sick. Yeah, that was it. That now people know you better, for better or worse.
I'm sorry, everybody.
Stoney wants a Mad Max overland vehicle. Johnny just wants something new, and Howling doesn't even, his didn't make sense. I forgot what he said. It was so exciting.
There's a fucking
On that note, I'm gonna go get a bowl of cereal.
I'm kidding.
Tank, dude.
I'm kidding. It was a tank. Was a good one. Was the tank one in San Diego? I think it was the guy that stole the tank and drove it. It was in, I think it was in San Diego County.
No. It was in,
It's in
I think it was much more rural. But even if anyone listens to Aphex Twin, he used to have one. He had a small mini 1-person tank that he used to drive around before he like right when he started getting making a bunch of money. But he was known for driving around in one of those little 1-person tanks in town. So
that's amazing.
Mm-hmm. And how you got to get to the museum that's around here. That's got all the tanks to it, so we'll have to connect.
Don't leak his plan. That's why he said tank. He's going to demand that we delete this episode afterwards because of he's like, hey,
I went to fucking basic training at Fort Knox. If I never see another tank again, it'll be too soon.
I bet, dude.
Anyone? Okay, Stoney, thank you so much for hosting. I will go out with this. Johnny, anything to plug?
I do not.
Stoney, do you have anything to plug?
You know what? I've started incorporating the Terps Plus into what I've been adding into my growing. So that's the part of the photosynthesis plus to add into it. So I've seen some incredible growth. Let's talk about how it is. It's really quite an anomaly, but it's been amazing to watch some of the results. But I did reach out to them and got one of the samples delivered over of the new Terps Plus, and they were fantastic about it. They blend it up and send it over, which is not an easy task. So to send out samples, it means a lot. So I appreciated it, and I've had it now in there incorporated for almost 2 to 3 weeks, and I've seen some really remarkable results. So just we'll talk about it more, but that's my shout out for the week. So yeah, for sure.
Nice. Howling.
I'll give a shout out to Miles over at Fermented Plant Extracts. I just picked up a gallon jug of his watermelon ferment.
Oh,
so it's nice. Like you get the normal like comfrey and peach and everything and pumpkin, and watermelon's a new one that he's doing. I don't know what got him turned on to doing that, but it just came today. Of course, first thing I have to do is open up the cap and smell it, and the nice aroma that comes out.
Oh,
yeah, so that's my plug is if Bill the Soil still has some in stock or your local grow shop, get it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
wonderful.
Find it.
Wonderful.
Handcrafted. Miles does it.
Yep.
So,
well, thank you all for joining me, my friends.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
Thanks for digging what we do.
Peace.